When video games get announced, many are hopeful that their launches will be smooth. However, because of worse working conditions and speed at which games need to be pumped out, many games launch in a bad state nowadays. Today, we're going to discuss the worst video game launches in history and see where they are in 2022. Number 1. Anthem. Anthem could have easily been one of the biggest video game titles of all time if its launch went smoothly. Leading up to release, Anthem was promised to have so much content. Prior to its announcement, creator BioWare were responsible for being an exceptional studio creating classic and critically acclaimed video games on a yearly basis. The problem with Anthem was that until the game launched, we had no idea about its long and troubled development. The game was set to be in great shape, and as we saw more gameplay, people were getting even more excited. However, because of those internal issues and many false promises, the game launched as a disaster and never recovered. During the first few weeks, Anthem received many mixed reviews. The game wasn't as poorly received as some of the other games we will get onto this list. But its poor reception led to it being a critical and commercial failure for EA. Fans were so excited for this game, and seeing it fail so hard was devastating for them. Over the last few years, BioWare have been trying to revamp Anthem by adding more content to the game and even making it free to play at one point. Despite all of these attempts to make the game better, Anthem completely died and has a very low player base. From recent interviews as well, the game is seemingly done as they have no interest in developing more content for it. This was one of the worst launches in video game history, but at its heart, Anthem could have been a phenomenal game. It was set to be the next Destiny, but completely died upon entry. Number 2. Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 was set to be a groundbreaking experience and should have changed the entire video game market forever. This was being developed by the ever-famous CD Projekt Red, who created Witcher 3. The game had been in development for well over a decade and was originally set to launch in 2013. However, due to some internal issues and the company wanting to work on a different project, the game was put on the back burner. In 2019, the game was finally re-announced and was set to release in 2020. After a few more delays, the game was finally released. Sadly, this was another failure for the company, and Cyberpunk 2077 released to pretty mild reviews. Many of its early reviews were actually positive, but as people put more time into the game, it was revealed how buggy the game actually was. Reviewers had only been able to play the game on a very high-end PC that most of the other player base would not have access to. This meant that they couldn't experience the true problems of the game, as many of the game-breaking issues were on a lower-spec PC and the console platform. Cyberpunk 2077 was plagued with bad graphics, technical issues, and even some breaking bugs that would completely destroy your save data. Many of these issues stayed around for a few weeks as many gamers completely dropped Cyberpunk. It got that much of an issue, many PS4 and Xbox One players just couldn't play the game. CD Projekt Red even offered refunds at one point, leading Sony to pull the game from the PlayStation Store. While the game was getting fixed, despite all of this, Cyberpunk 2077 is now in a phenomenal state. All of these terrible glitches were completely fixed, and the game was tidied up over the months after launch. Now that the next generation version of the game has been released, Cyberpunk 2077 is a phenomenal experience. It's just sad to see that many players have not gone back to its game because of the terrible experiences they had during launch. This is one of the few terrible game launches that was completely turned around into a great game. If you haven't already gone back to Cyberpunk 2077, now that it's fixed, please do so. The game is just amazing, and now you can even experience it problem-free. Number 3. Fallout 76. Bethesda's always had a track record of delivering some of the highest quality gaming experiences out there, as many of the titles have been released to widespread critical acclaim. The Fallout series is one of the most popular, and a new entry was set to be announced. Many fans were wondering if this was going to be Fallout 5 or some sort of additional content for the ever-popular Fallout 4. However, it was something completely different and something that the fanbase really didn't want. The Fallout team and Bethesda themselves are known for creating some of the best single-player experiences out there. The Elder Scrolls stories, as well as the Fallout series, were known for their phenomenal storytelling and single-player content. They had dipped their toes into the multiplayer world with Elder Scrolls Online. This game released to mixed reviews, but to this day is still getting content and has a good amount of players. It was only natural that they would eventually delve into the Fallout universe for a multiplayer experience. But fans were not ready for the terrible issues that Fallout 76 had. When the game was announced, many fans hated the idea. However, they bought the game and tried it out because they knew Bethesda would release some quality content, right? Well, they were completely wrong, as Fallout 76 released as a buggy and countless mass. It had severe technical problems at launch and basically no content. There was nothing to do, and it was a terrible experience with many game-breaking issues. Fans could even get over the glaring issues of the games, as many Bethesda games in the past are known for bugs. However, Fallout 76 took it to another level, as the game was almost unplayable at points. Many fans dropped the game and started to hate Bethesda even more than they already did. Over the last few years since launch, Bethesda tried their hardest to make a better Fallout game and improve the overall Fallout 76 experience. They added a lot of content people wanted, such as NPCs, vaults, and older content from other Fallout games. In the current state of Fallout 76, it's not actually that bad of a game. It still has its issues at its core, but the game keeps getting content as there is a decent amount of people still playing it. Fallout 76 is nowhere near the same level as some of the other Bethesda classics, but it's definitely in a much better position as it was back in the day. Maybe you should go back and try this game now that it's been improved. Let us know your thoughts on Fallout 76 down below. Finally, number 4, No Man's Sky. Our final game we're going to be talking about in this video is No Man's Sky. Just like some of the other games we've already mentioned on this list, No Man's Sky was set to be a technical marvel. The marketing hyped this game up, but sadly did not live up to fan expectations in some big ways. During the marketing scheme, developer Sean Murray lied on several occasions and exaggerated the main features of No Man's Sky. There were set to be some insane features at launch, but he had made the game sound way more ambitious than it actually was once it hit the market. When the game finally released, customers felt extremely misled and sought refunds for No Man's Sky. Though this wasn't on the same scale as something like Cyberpunk 2077, some players did get refunding depending on their situation. However, despite all the false promises, at its core, No Man's Sky was the perfect starting point for a phenomenal space exploration game. At its basic level, No Man's Sky wasn't that bad. As many other games do nowadays, No Man's Sky did launch with some bugs, but the biggest issues were just the fact that it didn't have the content promised during the marketing. People stuck with the game after launch, and over time, Hello Games added so much to it. Looking at No Man's Sky in 2022 is like looking at a completely different game. Now the game has so much content and everything that they promised during its marketing, it may have taken quite a few years for them to get to this point, but No Man's Sky is the perfect example of how to save a video game. It's gotten to such a great point that it has blown fans' expectations out of the water. Even in 2022, the game is constantly being updated with brand new free expansions and updates. If you haven't already gone back to No Man's Sky, you should definitely check it out as it's a great game nowadays. And that is the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed this latest video. If you did, would you please let us know down in the comment sections below? It'd be very helpful. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and of course, subscribe to the channel with the notification bell rung. Thanks for watching today's video. Goodbye.